Hello, everybody. Welcome to the next episode of the Nobody Asked for This podcast. Whatever number that may be, I've decided to I'm letting go. I don't know. Are we close to 150? I'm not sure. Maybe. Either way, what I do know is it is Wednesday again. Do you know how there are those days of the week? Actually, no. Sorry. It is Thursday. I'm recording this on a Wednesday, but if you're hearing this, that means I was able to finish it and upload it, which is likely happening on a Thursday. But there are those days of the week where it just feels like they come more often. That's Wednesday for me. Wednesday and Thursday, I'm like, how the hell is it already another Wednesday? But Fridays, they don't come fast enough. It's like, I feel like we get one Friday for every 3 Wednesdays. Excuse me, back to yawning. I see, this podcast is so fascinating, even I'm falling asleep. But no, I hope everyone has had a great week. I hope, we are coming up on spring. We are closing the book on winter, which, as everyone knows, is the worst month. Now, if you spoke to me between the years of 2012 till about last year, whatever year that was, I'm sort of losing track, you would call me a liar because I walked around thinking that winter was my favorite month. But that was back when I was under the impression that November and December were winter. And then I won't get into my whole rant about the seasons, but I have since learned / confirmed that winter, in fact, does not start until 3 days before Christmas, so end of December. So that is when I was able to reclaim and kind of fully cement myself in the I hate winter camp, because my least favorite months are January and February. So there's that. I'm glad we can kind of all be on the same page, and I look forward to sort of ushering in spring, warmer weather, although I kind of hate warm weather. I actually do think I'm a wintry person, but I also hate the cold, but I hate the hot. So I really don't know. I just have to move somewhere where it's mild all the time. Where is it that it's just the weather sort of is a non-factor? It will be 17 degrees no matter what, because that's where I need to go. 17 Celsius, not Fahrenheit. 17 Fahrenheit would be extremely cold, I believe. I'm kind of getting better at my Fahrenheit to Celsius. If anyone wants a tip, ready? Not that anyone's asking. But if you're Celsius minded, not the energy drink, the weather concept. If you're Celsius minded, think of Fahrenheit as a grade on a test. So let's say you got an 82 on a test, which I was lucky if I got an 82. What is that, a B? Maybe B plus, depending on where you are. So it's okay, that's pretty good. So that translates to pretty hot, not boiling. You didn't get in the 90s, but it's pretty warm. And I think 80 is, what is that, 20 Celsius? 20 times 2 plus 30, 25 Celsius. Which, yeah, it's hot, but you're not overheating in normal circumstances. Unless you had on a sweater, which I sometimes do, just for fashion. No, just for comfort, really. But yeah. And then you think, okay, 42, that's a fail. That is freezing. Which in Fahrenheit it is. I think that's how many degrees would that be? Once it starts getting into the negatives, I sort of exit the conversation. 42 Fahrenheit to Celsius. Yeah, see, that's 5 degrees. It doesn't work as well with the lower numbers because 5 degrees isn't that bad, depending on kind of what you're used to, but you definitely need a jacket. So yeah, there you go. Life hack, tip, and bye. Thank you so much for listening to the Nobody Asked for This podcast, and I'll see, I feel good to have gotten out like some hopefully useful information within the first 5 minutes of the Nobody Asked for This podcast. I have a lot less pressure now to like bring something, of substance. Like now we're just kind of coasting from here. Which, speaking of, I hope everyone has had a great week. I had a good week. I did something that I have been putting off for 5 years, and it transpired in a way that like I kind of wish it went a little worse for me because I didn't learn my lesson. I don't know if I talked about this last week, but I made an appointment to get my eyes checked, which felt very noble of me to do. It felt like I was kind of stepping into some sort of ownership over making appointments. Like there's just nothing worse than having to like make a dentist appointment, which I also have to do that. But I started with the eye doctor appointment, which you could make online, which was perfect for me. Which I don't know, it's one of those, like the fear of calling, I have it a little bit, but like, what do I think is going to happen? It's one of those things where it's like almost a little bit irrational. Like, okay, why do I hesitate to like call to order something? Like, what are they going to say? No? Like, that's what they're there for. Like, they want me to call. Papa John's wants me to call him and say, hi, can I have a pizza? Like, that's what he's here for. Like, that is his vocation, So, like, I don't know what the hang up is on my end. Also, the thing about the phone is if it goes poorly, like, you just hang up. Like, they're not in front of you. It's not in person. You could even go on no, don't show my caller ID mode. And they're fine. Like, they could never find you. There's probably, like, an IP address situation. But, like, I'm just ordering a pizza. Like, nothing wild's happening. So, I don't know where that comes from. And maybe I'll unpack that one day. But I know it's very common. And I just feel like that's sort of, like, the next frontier that we could face as a society. Is like, why are we all so scared of the phone? Because I love a phone call. I would rather call for multiple reasons. One, I think it's just a bit easier. Two, I don't think my charm comes across through a text message. Three, I'm terrible at spelling. You don't have to spell when you're talking. Four, you could say, listen, I don't want to promote gossiping, but like if you're going to gossip, not that I ever would, I only speak positively. If you have nothing nice to say, don't say it at all. Or if you have nothing nice to say it and don't write it. Because once you write it, then they can go to the person that you're talking negatively about and say, yes, here's the text. Whereas if it's just a conversation, you could deny it till you're blue in the face. Again, not to promote lying, but like if I wanted to throw in a second helpful tip of the Nobody Asked for This podcast for this episode, it might be that. You could take that or you could leave it. But anyway, I made an eye doctor appointment. And I was sort of expecting to go in there, and I kind of had my speech prepared as to like why I haven't been in 5 years. Now I was going to a new doctor, so like they really wouldn't have known. So I could have lied. I could have said, I went 2 days ago and I'm just so up on my eye health that like I want to make sure like nothing's happened in the past 2 days. And I sit down in the chair, and first of all, they make you do those like tests and stuff, which always makes me nervous, not because I'm scared my eyes aren't going to work, but because I'm like just like a little bit stupid. So when they hold up the book and they're like, what numbers do you see? I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to get the numbers wrong. Or they're like, can you just read this story for me? Like, and they just kind of watch how your eyes move. That terrifies me because, again, not because I'm scared of the results of my eyes. Like, I will put on a pair of glasses. I don't mind. But I'm just nervous that, like, I'm going to look like an idiot. Not that my behavior would make it look like I'm scared to be an idiot. I mean, I've been an idiot for 9 minutes and 40 almost seconds on this podcast with no care in the world. But for some reason, I just feel so vulnerable having to read a story about, like, the tortoise and the hare, at 11 a.m. on a Sunday in the mall eye examination place. thinking I'm going to like mispronounce a word in like a grade 2 level reading book. You know what I mean? Or they'll be like, oh my gosh, this guy needs glasses. And it's like, oh no, I actually just, like, I wasn't misreading the words because I was seeing them incorrectly. I just like can't read, you know? But luckily, I sat down in the chair and I passed with flying colors, which the only reason I'm upset about that is because I didn't learn my lesson. They asked me, when was the last time you had an eye doctor's appointment? And I did what all rational people do, and I blamed COVID. I said, I haven't been since like before COVID. It was like right before, it was like right before. And then, when everything opened back up, I forgot that I had to do it. And then I got busy, and then and they're like, okay, I know you're fine. Like I was explaining. They're like, yeah, you're good. And I just feel like, while it is important to stay up on all of your medical appointments, like extremely important, I feel like the eye doctor is like the one appointment that you can like low-key do yourself. Like I can give myself an eye examination, like sort of like, can you see? Okay, I'm going to be upfront and transparent, as I always am, on these what are these called, episodes? I am coming to you about 12 hours later, almost exactly 12 hours later. I am in different attire. I am in my pajamas and a robe. I've decided I'm going to embrace robes recently. I don't know what it was. Honestly, I think I was just cold and a hoodie wasn't cutting it for some reason, because I've gotten used to wearing a hoodie like when it is actually hot. So that by the time you actually need a hoodie and like other people with normal body temperature regulation are wearing hoodies, like I need to go, like I need something stronger. So I'm in a robe, I'm in my beanbag chair, I have a cup of coffee. So if I sound more relaxed, don't worry, I'll still be doing like the regular scheduled complaining. Like I'm not going to start, preaching about positivity. Don't worry, I'm not taking it that far. But like if I just sound more relaxed, then that is why. Just to be straight up and honest. But I will continue with what I was talking about. And yes, I do agree with myself from 12 hours ago. It is an eye exam that you can do yourself. You can just, look and you say like, I think we're good, which is why I felt not great about dodging the eye doctor for 5 years, but like also not horrible. Like for other types of appointments, like as much as I feel like I can be intuitive, like I can't tell you my cholesterol level. I can't even tell you what that is. Like you will have to draw some blood, and I should probably make an appointment to do that at some point. Is that even possible? Can you make an appointment to get a blood test without having a reason to get a blood test? Like, what if I just want to do like a tune-up? Like, what if I just want to see like what's happening in there? Have they figured out at-home blood tests yet? I know they had that one woman who founded the company, was it Theranos? And she talked like with a deep voice, and I don't want to make fun of it if it was her natural voice, but I think I heard rumors that like she read a study that was like people will take you more seriously if you have a deeper voice, which is probably true and very sad, because it would mean like people trust like deeper, like more stereotypically male voices in business, which is messed up. But that's just kind of her part of her personality trait. I can't remember what her name was, but she had this machine that said like she would just take one drop of blood, and the one drop of blood could tell you like if you had all of these different like cancers or diseases or anything like that. So I'm assuming because she's in jail now, that means that technology like is a bust and like doesn't work. But I think it should, because I would love to just like, let's just see what's in there. And here's the problem with me is I am quite a hypochondriac. I've gotten better. I think I've started to care less, which you think would make my hypochondria worse, but it actually made it better, because I'm like, listen, I get bad news medically. Let's keep it let's just cross our fingers, do what we can. Like, Whereas before, everything went to, like, straight from something's not right to, like, that's it for me. And I'm very lucky that I haven't been put in many, like, if any, serious situations like that. But what was I talking about? Yeah, so the eye doctor. So the problem was, the part of me that, like, kind of knows what's up, and, like, the smarter part of me kind of wanted the dumber part of me to be a little bit scolded at the eye doctor for putting it off for 5 years. And not only was I not scolded, so I did not learn my lesson, I was told that I didn't have to return for, like, 2 to 3 years, which is, like, a little over or under, like, half the time that I put it off when I was told to come every year. So, like, imagine, I don't think I'm hitting the eye doctor until 2040. And imagine the kind of havoc that'll be on my eyes. Because I imagine at that point we'll have, like, everything be a digital screen. Like, we will exist digitally. And every once in a while, I'll be doing, like, a menial task. And I'm like, I know it's bad that the robots are taking over, but can they take over just a little bit faster? I'm obviously kidding. I think let's keep as many humans in jobs as possible. But there are things that, like, I think a robot could do better than me in particular. How did I get from eye doctors to the robots? I don't know. But that's what happens. See, that's what happens when you get a beanbag chair, pajama, robe, tea, coffee episode. Am I drinking tea or coffee? I'm drinking... I think I lied to you all. This is definitely a peppermint tea. I've also decided that I drink peppermint tea now. Go figure. I used to think tea tasted like water, because, I mean, it is, but yeah, it tastes like leaves in water, but, like, that's kind of what you're signing up for. See, if you drink, and this is totally my opinion. I know tea is very popular. I think tea in many parts of the world is more popular than coffee. I went to England, and you can't find drip coffee anywhere, but tea is just in abundance. But I think for me, if I take a sip of tea knowing that it's going to be tea, I'm like, oh, I really like this. But if I take a sip of tea thinking it's going to be like a juice, it will always disappoint. And that's just my, North American, I'm used to a lot of sugar, Red 40, Kool-Aid, Hawaiian Punch palate. It's my Hawaiian Punch palate. I bet Hawaii's like, leave us out of that. Like, this punch has nothing to do with us. Poor Hawaii. Anyway, so that I hope can kind of serve as your reminder that if you're not up to date on your medical checkups, you should do that. Seriously. Information is power, and I will give that advice, but I probably won't take it. But the second Elizabeth gets out of jail and, like, hopefully rectifies this whole misunderstanding, I hope she gets her machine up and running, because I wouldn't, like, I get moments where I get the nerve to, like, make an eye doctor appointment, make a dentist appointment, do like a checkup. Like, I have moments where I'm like, oh, screw it, let's just do it. Like, my hypochondria kind of takes a back seat to, again, that smarter part of my brain, who I really want to, like, use more in 2025. That other part has kind of been in the front row seat for a little bit, so we're gonna swap that. We're gonna try something different for 2026 or 2025, whatever. No pressure. But if that blood test machine, caught me on a good day where I was feeling like I was ready to, take initiative, I would do it and then hopefully find out that everything was all good in there. So, basically what I'm saying is, if Elizabeth, I think her name is Elizabeth, the Theranos founder, who's screaming? If the Theranos founder is a fan of the Nobody Asked for This podcast, which I feel like if you're in prison for, like, an extended amount of time, like, why not? Like, just listen, Although maybe your life's hard enough and you don't need me to make it worse, but if you're listening, I like the idea. I do wonder where, they did a show on this. I gotta watch the show. Maybe we can do, like, a recap. I'm horrible at watching TV, but the only TV I can kind of watch is, like, TV from, like, 5 years ago. where I'm the person walking around being like, did anyone see Game of Thrones? And they're like, yeah, we've seen it. And I'm like, this show's crazy. That show's actually crazy, but like not in the... I've seen the first season of Game of Thrones and thought it was really like horrible, like really bad. Like honestly, like hours of my life that I'll never get back. And I watched that as like and no offense, like I'm sorry if this is offending anyone, but I watched that as the last season of Game of Thrones was like on TV like weekly, because I was nosy and like felt left out. So I was like, okay, let me go back. And I think I tried to watch the whole thing in like 2 weeks because that's when the finale was. Got through the end of the first season, barely, and was like, I hate this. Now, I've heard it gets better after the first season, so maybe I can go back and like give it another chance. And like, at the end of the day, like, as much as I say I didn't enjoy it, like I did watch the whole thing, and like I have not watched the whole thing of much. And by the whole thing, I mean the whole first season. But at a certain point, I had to look at myself. I looked in the mirror, I looked up at the stars, and I said, there is no way in hell or heaven or Westeros or wherever the hell these people live. I was like, there's no way in any universe, planet, or place that I am going to finish this by the deadline of the series finale air date. So I said, you know what? I'm going to stop. I'm going to quit. And I'm just going to watch the last episode. So I watched that last episode live. And let me tell you, I was able to follow. I did not understand what they were saying when they were speaking in the... they have like there's a whole other language on the show, which I think is not an accurate language. It's probably like derivative of Latin or something. I'm not sure. Sorry, regular wasn't the word. It's not like a actual language, or at least not like an active language. I don't know. I don't know what I'm saying. But everything else I could kind of understand. They were really just having the same conversations from the first season of like, who's going to sit on the Iron Throne? I'm like, we still don't know this. Like, how did you captivate an audience for 10 years asking the same question over and over and over again? And that's the flaw with TV. Like, you kind of have to like sacrifice a character and or storyline every once in a while to keep us interesting. It's like, obviously, if we're watching Grey's Anatomy, like Meredith Grey is going to be fine. Now, I believe I've heard that she is actually not fine, or she's like just not on the show anymore. So see, that's something good. Took them 25 years, but like you got to switch it up. You got to make us think like this could be the end, because you can't have every season finale. Which show was I watching where like I swear to you, every like 3 out of like the 5 season finales was the same main character like in some sort of like vehicular accident, and it was like, is she gonna make it? And then by the third time of that happening, I'm like, no, she's for sure gonna make it. And then I think, spoiler alert, I don't think she made it. So actually, now that I think about it, they were probably just playing the long game and wanted us to be like, oh, here we go, another accident, like obviously gonna make it, and then she didn't make it. What show was that? I can't remember, but I guess I can't really spoil it if I don't tell you what show it was. That would be a good concept for I don't know what. I don't know if it's a game show or like a game you play with your friends of like you spoil a show, but you don't give enough detail to know what the show is. Okay, I have to find a smart person and flesh this out, because I think there's something there. I'm gonna brainstorm that one. Now, how I got from my eye exam to recapping Game of Thrones 8 years later, I'm not sure. Recapping, mind you, a show that I did not watch. That would be a great name for this episode. Recapping a show I did not watch. I'm going to write that down. I did not watch. If I had a nickel or a dime for every time that I went to name an episode and could not think of what I wanted to name it, yet 9 times in the episode referenced something I said as, this would be a good title, I would have so many dimes, it's not even funny. I'd be very wealthy. Like mediocrely very wealthy. Wealthy in a poor kind of way. Ooh, see, that's a good title too. Maybe next week. Anyway, okay, let's see. I covered my eyes. I covered Theranos. I covered Game of Thrones, a show I don't watch. I covered my robe. Let me take a sip of tea and see if there's any, if this like great value store brand peppermint tea inspires anything. I just found out that officially winter ends tonight. For some reason, I thought it was the 21st, but sure, I'll take your word for it. It ends tonight, which is good. So winter, thank you for the lessons you taught us. No thank you for the cold, but thank you for giving me a reason to wear a robe. You brought me into my robe wearing lifestyle, and I'm not going to celebrate you for that, but I'm going to thank you for that. I'm going to honor you for that. And we're going to just, spring into spring. Fall back, spring forward. Don't worry, I'm not going to go on my daylight savings rant again. I feel like I've done that. And I'm going to take off daylight savings next year. Like, I'm just not going to participate in it. Like, I will exist an hour ahead or behind regardless. Whatever the time that it is now on this date is the time that it will be for the next year. The remainder calendar year. Does calendar year mean like 2025, or does that mean March 2025 to March 2026? I think it means the 2025. Let me see. What does calendar year mean? Okay, yeah, so it means like the actual year. Oh, don't even get me started on fiscal years. What is that nonsense? Why do companies decide that they are just going to make up when the year starts? Like, that's not how that works. If I had that power, I actually don't know what I would do with that. I don't think it's a very useful power, but like, still, like, just knowing that you could. Like, why would you, like, January 1st to December 31st, what was wrong with that? Are you so special that you needed your calendar year to end, or your fiscal year to end in June? Is it for tax reasons? Are you shady for doing it? Are you not shady for doing it? Like, I don't know how to interpret any of this. I just sort of experience things as I experience them, and a lot of the times I look at something and I go, and move on. Until I started the Nobody Asked for This podcast. Then I see something and I go, talk about it on the Nobody Asked for This podcast, and then it goes away. I got to work on that third step of like action plan. But listen, there are thinkers and there are doers, and if I've learned anything about myself in the time that I've been myself, I think I'm a thinker. I'm not a good thinker, but I'm a thinker. I mean, I either think and don't do, or I do and don't think. Whoa. I am Socrates. That was good. If that is like a quote, I promise you, unless it was like somewhere in my subconscious, like I didn't know that. Like in my head, I just made that up. But there's nothing worse than thinking you made something up and then figuring out that like it's a thing. There was one time I thought I wrote a song. Like I thought I wrote a verse of a song. Like fully thought I wrote a song. I'm not a songwriter. I have no business writing songs, but like I thought I wrote a song. And then I was listening to the radio, or like my Apple Music was on shuffle, and that song came on and I was like, my song. And then I realized I did not write this song. And it wasn't even like a popular song. It was like an obscure like B-side to something that I had convinced myself that I wrote, and I hadn't. And that is the story of how I will eventually be sued. I'd be convincing. I would say to that jury, listen, I wrote this song. And they'd be like, you actually didn't. This song existed before you were born and we have proof. And I'd be like, well, Make room for me, Elizabeth. Here I come. Let's figure out this blood test machine while we're in here together. Anyway, thank you so much for listening. If you did, I guess if you're listening to if you're listening to my thanks, that means you listened to the first, half an hour. But I really appreciate you for listening. If you like what you heard, you can go to podcastnobodyaskforthis.podbean.com. On there, you can find the links to all of the places that you can listen. You can just straight up listen to the episodes on there. Whatever floats your boat. Do all of that, none of that. I'll be here regardless, but I do appreciate it. And I will talk to you next week. Bye.